Hi, I'm Johannes from JoboMusic, and this is Flexion, our first synthesizer. Flexion uses something we call constructive synthesis, and constructive synthesis allows you to create completely malleable wave shapes. If we, for example, have a look into the current patch we have loaded right now, you can see this wave shape is pretty much just a standard sawtooth wave shape, and the filter is made via its own waveform editor. So this waveform editor is very flexible and can do a lot of stuff. I'm just going to load an initial patch to just demonstrate the approach, the general approach. So right now we have something like a sine wave. We can go edit the sine wave, and for example we could say we want to plug a modulator into this control point up here. So I would connect that control point with a macro control, and now this macro control can change the wave shape of the oscillator. And after that I could say I want to connect the macro control to a modulator, and this modulator would then change the shape of the oscillator itself. You can add control points or flex point as many as you like, and you can see how it's being moved, and it can also move by anchoring the control point. It will move everything around it with it. So you can build really complex waveforms, morphing waveforms. Each flex point can be modulated independently, and everything is stereo, so you can have a different type of wave shape on the left and the right channel. And the same approach also works for things like the filter, for example. So I'm just going to load in example patch where you can see what you can do with the filter. So if I, for example, load this patch, you can see this is some kind of a formant filter, and the filter has been built by using this principle and creating different notches that move in and out of each other. And it can also function kind of like a low-pass filter, but it has some crazy formant filter added on top of it. So this flexible waveform approach, where you can really move every flex point, allows you to create very complex and ever-changing filters. And the same also applies to things. I'm just going to turn off the filter right now for a second, and we can do something like a... Okay, it's hard to hear on this patch. I'm just going to go back to the initial patch, show the principle, where we also have something like a phase distortion. So if I have my sine wave here, I could, for example, say I want to skew it to get this kind of like phase distortion type of sound. And we can also do something like a frequency modulation with this skew waveform, which allows you to manipulate the waveforms on a global level. And all these controls and everything can be mapped to those macros, and those macros will then change the control. So now I'm just going to load a sub preset here, and this sub preset actually loads all the settings up here. And here you can see the sub preset, the names of the sub preset have been used, and we can use. You can just exchange sub presets in order to build to mix and match a sound more easily. The same approach of the constructive synthesis also applies to the modulators. For example, here we have a standard ADSR envelope, and what I can do, for example, I could add something to the decay phase of the envelope, and it's just being used by because there's a second oscillator which is added on top. And in the envelopes you can do the same thing. You can build your envelopes, you can change your envelopes, you can make them change itself over time. And same applies to things like a wave shaper, which you can use on the entire thing as well. And also we have a component called the Reactor, and the Reactor is something like a resonating frequency listener. So it will listen to energy on certain frequencies, and if it gets this energy, it's going to react in a certain way. So I'm maybe just going to show a quick example patch. If I load this one, you can see, I'm sorry about that, it looks like, I'm just going to go real quick, do a real quick restart. We're just going to load that preset from a second before. So we're still in very, very early alpha. So if we listen to this patch, it's being composed out of two different sections. One of them is the constructor, which creates this kind of melody. And this melody, the frequencies of that melody are triggering a reaction, which is listening, which you can hear here. So this will give you something like an atmosphere around whatever you do with the constructor. The reactor can also be more percussive. For example, if we load something like that, you can hear the reactor can also do some very quick and percussive reactions, or the reactor can also do something which is more like a reverberary tail kind of sound. Another thing which is also included in Flexion are 3D visuals. So right now you can see we have a visual backdrop, and I'm just going to go through a few patches here. You can see, for example, in this one, how the visualization actually corresponds to the sound that you hear. And it's actually built from the signal flow of the sound. So you can tap into certain parts of the signal flow and create an ever-changing visual, which you can use as a backdrop. For example, if you do a performance, you can put it on a second screen. And it's completely optional. You can turn it off if you don't need it. But it can get some great atmospheres. This one, for example.
So, is it or do you know when it will be available?
So we're starting the private beta right now, and we're also looking for beta testers that can also contribute sounds and contribute feedback. And we're looking to release the synths by the end of the year. So it's going to be a few more months from now until we actually have it totally polished, and then we'll come out with it. It will be very accessible to everyone. It won't be. There's a new way of distributing it, which we're going to be announcing a little bit closer to the release.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.